The scene begins in an unexplored northern region of South Korea, where several groups of people are seated together. Suddenly, a young man appears. An older man approaches him and asks if this is his first time on an expedition. The young man replies that while he has experience with gates and dungeons, this is his first time in an unexplored region, and he feels a bit nervous. The older man hands him a cup of coffee. The young man thanks him and mentions that he should mentally prepare himself. The older man remarks that such places have remained unexplored for hundreds of years, making it likely they are filled with monsters, possibly even ancient ones. The young man hesitantly notes that their expedition team leader hails from the esteemed Lee Martial Clan and is the current patriarch's brother, suggesting he must be very strong. Looking toward a shabby-looking man, the older man responds, "Ah, you mean him? He's an illegitimate son, so weak that he was banished from the clan." He continues, "Not only is he lacking in talent, but he also seems to lack tenacity, being only a 7th rank martial artist at his age. How can we depend on someone like that?" A masked man approaches the shabby-looking man, saying, "We will get moving again." The shabby-looking man, Lee Cheol, the 9th illegitimate child of the esteemed Lee Martial Clan, looks at the masked man with tired eyes and replies, "All right." Lee Cheol reflects that the Shadow Sword Squad, directly affiliated with the patriarch of the Lee clan, is supposed to be protecting him, but something feels amiss and he has a bad feeling about this mission. He recalls a time when he had hopes and dreams, when he first understood the significance of being part of the Lee clan, and when he was chosen by the highest-ranked weapon during the steel selection ritual, a ceremony held for newborns of the clan to determine their talent. He thought that if he continued to seek acknowledgement and put forth his best effort, he might one day be recognized by his clan. However, that recognition never came. Lee Cheol had a condition. The doctor said he had never seen mana paths like his before and that they were not suited for learning magic. Martial arts would lack stability if he tried practicing any. The Lee clan was informed that for young Master Lee Cheol, reaching the 4th rank would be nothing short of a miracle. Hearing this, the patriarch, Lee Cheol's father, was disappointed. Once everyone learned about Lee Cheol's condition, they dismissed what happened at the steel selection ritual as a mere coincidence or mistake. Even so, he gave it his all and proved the doctor wrong by reaching the 7th rank at 25. He was genuinely happy, even if his siblings had reached that rank as minors. But that joy did not last long, as he was cast out of his clan at the age of 30. If not for his oldest brother, he might have left the household as a corpse instead. He had been on the run ever since, and it's already been 10 years. A time of chaos descended upon them. The unexplored region expanded, and monster invasions grew more frequent. Lee Cheol was just scraping by, homeless and on the run. On a gloomy day, Lee Cheol was sitting on the outskirts of the city when a newspaper blew onto his head. He was shocked to see the headline. His father, the late patriarch of the esteemed Lee Martial Clan, Sword Saint Lee Cheol, had passed away. His father, who was at the pinnacle of martial arts and the patriarch of the Lee clan, was gone just like that. As his thoughts were jumbled, 2 members of the Shadow Sword Squad approached him, saying, "Young Master Lee Cheol." But Lee Cheol cut them off and asked how they had found him. One squad member replied, "This is a decree for you," handing Lee Cheol an envelope. Lee Cheol thought, so they are just going to ignore my question. This cursed bloodline will never let me go. The envelope contained a mission decree to investigate the B1 zone of the unexplored regions. He was to join the expedition team at 1830 today. Lee Cheol noticed it was decreed by Patriarch Lee Gunsong and wondered if his 3rd brother had become patriarch and what had happened to his oldest brother. The Shadow Sword Squad members said they would see him in an hour. Lee Cheol stopped them and asked what had happened to his oldest brother. The squad members did not reply. Again, Lee Cheol asked them, "What is the point in ordering me to investigate the unexplored region when I haven't even wielded a sword in 10 years? And I am a 7th rank martial artist at that?" The Shadow Sword Squad member asked, So, will you refuse to carry out your orders? Realizing that refusing an order without just cause meant death, Lee Cheol noticed the Shadow Sword Squad members' hands resting on their swords. He reluctantly agreed to undertake the mission, prompting the squad members to depart. Frustrated, Lee Cheol muttered an expletive under his breath. As the expedition team advanced toward their destination, one member exclaimed in surprise upon discovering a well-preserved abandoned building in such a remote area. A Shadow Sword Squad member declared, "We are going in," and the team proceeded to enter the structure. Inside, an expedition member, upon encountering the remains of an ancient monster, reacted with shock, asking, "What the hell is that?" Simultaneously, a Shadow Sword Squad member announced, "Found it," and commanded the others to commence their operation. Without warning, they began slaughtering the expedition members. Stunned, Lee Cheol demanded, "What are you doing?" One of the assailants, launching his sword, retorted, "You all knew you were dead from the start. Consider yourselves honored to be used for the esteemed Lee Martial Clan's goodwill." Reacting swiftly, Lee Cheol stabbed one of the Shadow Sword Squad members from behind and urgently inquired, "Who is behind this?" The wounded member replied, "The Liege," referring to the current patriarch, Lee Cheol's third brother. He further revealed that their orders were to lure the expedition team to this location and eliminate them as cleanly as possible, provided they didn't resist. To Lee Cheol's astonishment, the squad member's wound began to heal rapidly. Another expedition member attempted an attack but was swiftly killed by a Shadow Sword Squad member, who deflected the assault effortlessly. The resulting shockwave knocked Lee Cheol to the ground. Gazing down at Lee Cheol, the squad member sneered, "How pathetic. I thought you would be stronger than this, especially since half of your blood still belongs to the esteemed Lee Clan." He punctuated his disdain by kicking Lee Cheol. Severely wounded and coughing up blood, Lee Cheol resolved that he couldn't die in such a manner. Desperately seeking a weapon, his eyes landed on one embedded in the ancient monster's remains. He reasoned that a sword capable of slaying such a formidable creature should still retain its power, even after a long period. However, as he pulled the sword, it disintegrated into black smoke. Disheartened, Lee Cheol questioned aloud, "Why?" A Shadow Sword Squad member taunted, "I didn't imagine that someone of the Lee Clan could be so damn pathetic. I will send you off like a Lee, at the very least." He then launched his sword at Lee Cheol. Falling to the ground, Lee Cheol cursed the heavens for their cruelty. "So I die just like this," he lamented. Reflecting on a life filled with struggle, running, and repeated failures, he wished for another chance. A voice from the background inquired, "Is this Yujung's child?" Hearing the voice, Lee Cheol wondered if it belonged to his father. The voice continued, asking about Yujung's fate. A butler responded, "When we found her, she was already..." Opening his eyes, Lee Cheol saw his father and thought, "But my father is already dead. How is he alive?" He then noticed that not only did his father appear much younger, but so did Butler Choi. Suddenly, Lee Cheol observed that his own hands were those of a baby. Shocked, he realized that he had somehow become an infant. Lee Cheol waved his hands in shock, trying to make sense of what had happened. He knew he should be dead, but now he found himself in what seemed like the past. Was this the afterlife, a flashback, or something else entirely? His father, Lee Tashian, instructed the Lee clan's butler, Lee Choi, to assign Lee Cheol a handmaid and a few members of the Shadow Sword Squad as guards, just like the other children. Tashian also ordered Choi to have Cheol participate in the upcoming steel selection ritual, alongside the other children. Choi hesitated, reminding Tashian that Cheol was still very young and not yet ready, and that the youngest of the other children was still a few months older. Tashian dismissed the concern, stating that age shouldn't matter, which surprised Cheol after giving his orders. Tashian left the room, leaving Cheol to sigh in relief. Cheol, still processing everything, felt the overwhelming pressure his father exuded. Just as he remembered, he looked down at his tiny hands, realizing this was too vivid to be a mere flashback. He recalled Tashian and Choi's conversation, confirming that this had indeed happened before, yet he struggled to accept the possibility that he had truly regressed to the past. A few months after Cheol's return to the past, the esteemed Lee Clan's special day arrived, the Steel Selection Ritual. This event was a significant tradition where the clan's children displayed their talents by being chosen by weapons. Taxian, who had been selected by dozens of blades in his youth, had become the greatest swordsman of his generation. Cheol's eldest brother, Lee Myung-jung, chosen by swords, tomes, and staff, was renowned for his mastery of both magic and swordsmanship. Cheol knew that this time he would be the one participating. As his handmaid, Moongawa, praised him for dressing so well and remarked how well he was adapting to his new environment without crying, she carried him in her arms, assuring him that he would achieve a good result and that she believed in his bright future. Her words brought a smile to his face as he remembered how Gawa had been like a mother to him in his past life. Sadly, she had been expelled due to the hatred of his other brothers. Gawa had been the one person who cried over his loneliness and stayed by his side. Touching her face gently, Cheol swore to himself that he would not let her be cast out again and would protect her at all costs. He hugged her softly, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. A servant entered the room to report that the preparations were complete. Gawa asked if they should depart, and Cheol nodded with a smile. Meanwhile, in the patriarch's office, Choi reported to Taxian that the ritual preparations were finished. Taxian acknowledged the report and instructed Choi to accompany him to the event. Taxian then made his way to the stage, accompanied by his 2 children and servants. As they entered, the crowd erupted in cheers. The audience's attention was particularly drawn to the illegitimate son who had been brought in from outside. In the audience sat the esteemed Lee Clan matriarch, Baek Hwayong, along with Minister Lee Tai-hong, the first child of the Lee Clan, Lee Myung-jung, and the third child, Lee Gun-seung. Tai-hong commented on Cheol's young age, and Myung-jung noted that none of them had participated in the ritual at such an early age. Myung-jung asked Gun-seung if he remembered correctly, to which Gun-seung simply replied yes, adding that he had no idea where Cheol had come from. The exchange left Gun-seung intrigued. Taxian announced the beginning of the steel selection ritual. He ordered a maid to bring his 8th child, Lee Hwayong, to the stage. The maid complied, and Taxian placed Hwayong on the ritual stone. He then took out a knife, gently slashed one of Hwayong's fingers, and let her blood drip onto the stone. Hwayong cried out in pain as the stone emitted a bright light. The light floated toward the stage where the weapons were displayed and wrapped around the ivory sword, a relic-ranked weapon of utmost prestige that had not responded to anyone for generations. Taxian used his power to lift the sword and bring it closer, where it landed perfectly in his hand. He declared that from that day forward, the ivory sword belonged to Hwayong. The elders congratulated little Hwai, expressing their joy at the birth of another talented child in the family. Hwayong thanked them, though her happy expression faltered as the ceremony continued, knowing that Cheol's turn was next. Taxian announced that it was Cheol's turn, prompting whispers among the crowd. Many questioned how an illegitimate child from outside the clan could be allowed to participate in such a sacred ritual. Gawa handed Cheol to Taxian, who placed him on the ritual stone. Taxian sliced Cheol's finger, but unlike Hwayong, Cheol endured the pain without crying. Taxian patted his head, expressing pride in his resilience. Cheol realized the moment had come. He remembered that in his past life he had been chosen by the Clear Echo, a heaven-ranked sword. As his blood dripped,